Good evening, Des Moines. This is Lefty with Doc and Lefty coming to you live from the studios of webcast1live.com in beautiful, sweltering, scenic, magnificent downtown Des Moines in the Skywalk. We're here every Tuesday night from 6 to 7. I am here with my partner in crime, the inimitable, the often I just said inimitable, didn't I? But
yes,
the never, ever duplicated Dr. Patrick Bertroche. Doc, welcome back to the country.
Well, thank you. I will tell you, I forget how beautiful and awesome Iowa is. And then I leave, and when I come back, I feel the awesomeness in the plane as I'm landing. Strangely enough, on Sunday when I was landing, I thought, boy, that's Red Rock Lake down there. Generally, we don't fly over Red Rock. Turns out it wasn't Red Rock. It's all the flooding south of Des Moines.
It's bad down there.
Oh,
I'm down there all the time.
It was like, holy cow. So you guys really got pummeled when I was gone.
Well,
so,
I was in
and not to make everybody feel bad, but I was laying on a beach sunning myself. And I know that's asking a lot of the sun, but still, it got it done.
I was over in Burlington on last Thursday because I had a judge that just wanted to see my smiling face at 8:45 in the morning. So I was up before the sun came up, driving to Burlington, which the courthouse there in Burlington is right across the street from the river. It goes courthouse, street, a little hill with some businesses, riverfront, Mississippi River. And the Mississippi River was so high, I was afraid that I was going to have to wear long pants sitting in the courtroom. It was bad over there. I think they've got it worse than us.
Wow. So, well, I'm going to tell you, I want to get straight to the meat of several issues. I thought to myself as I was overseas, watching everything blow up, getting the European perspective of what's going on over here, I thought I have picked the wrong time to leave the U.S.
Yes, you did.
Now, I will tell you that when I was overseas in April, what I heard a lot of is the Republicans are obstructing Obama. The Republicans are obstructing Obama. The reason we have austerity is because of the Republicans. And these are countries, such as Greece, Turkey, UK. What's the other one we got to arguing about the other day? Spain. And I thought, it's really interesting to see how the world blames Republicans. This NSA, IRS, wiretapping, spying on everybody thing breaks big. The Brits admit, well, yeah, we kind of helped them. The Germans, who usually are strangely quiet, go, we have no comment. The Spanish say, well, we're not spying on people internally. And France goes out of its way to say, listen, we're not spying on people in France. We're spying on people out there. So it was really interesting to watch this entire thing unfold from overseas. And not once did they mention Democrats, Republicans. It was all strictly NSA. Oh, this is a rogue spy is what first came out. And then people were reading what that Snowden went to The Guardian. And when everybody started reading what he said, suddenly a lot of the politics went straight out of it. And a lot of the outrage came into it.
Well, I'll tell you what, as far as the political bent is concerned, I will be non-political, and you've known me for a long time at this point. You've known me since 2009?
Yeah, earlier than that. 2008. Yep,
yeah, right around there. And we had these same conversations about a little old program called warrantless wiretapping under the Bush administration back in 2001, 2002, 2003. I don't remember your position at the time, but you remember my position at the time was It's got to stop. It's got to stop. We're giving up all this security, this false choice that we need to know all this stuff about everybody. There are libraries and book groups in California getting national security letters, and it's just a big thumb of the federal government coming in where it doesn't need to be. And I was very, very strongly and still am against it. And I'll tell you what, that was a Republican president that started that program, and wouldn't you know, his Democratic successor has continued it, albeit...
And expanded, from my view.
Albeit with the whole FISA rubber stamp secret court nonsense that the Bush administration was forced to create once all the warrantless wiretapping came to the fore, and Senator Feinstein and all the Democrats had a complete heyday with it. They set up the FISA courts to provide a little bit of process, but we don't get to see any of the evidence. We don't get to even know the decisions that are made. We don't get to know what they talk about. It's all completely classified and confidential. And so, at least that, and I'm being very sarcastic, folks, just in case you couldn't tell, at least the Obama administration claims they're following that. But really what they're saying is the exact same thing we used to criticize George Bush for. There are threats around the world, everybody. Trust us to keep you safe. Don't worry about that purchase on Amazon from 6 weeks ago that you made at 1:15 in the morning. It's not like we know about it, but we know about it. So just go about your business. Don't look behind the curtain. Everything's okay. And frankly, I think hopefully at this point, now that we've had another big leak about this stuff, maybe we'll start waking up saying enough is enough.
Well, and I agree with you. One of the things that I often think about is, instead of having Democrats and Republicans, we ought to have statists versus elitists versus regular Joes. And I think the regular Joes should be running the place. There's been several times that I've told Lefty, don't make me defend George Bush's policies, because as a conservative Republican, I didn't agree with a lot of them. I've made my displeasure with the Bush administration abundantly clear at times on this show. The problem is Bush was a statist. Obama's a statist. They believe in the power of the state. And it doesn't matter what status you put in power, what they're going to do, expand the powers of the presidency. And that's exactly what George Bush did. Obama's continuing that. My position, just to be clear, was I think tapping foreign lines, people outside that are not citizens, for me, out there in that scary world, is all right. Here's where I failed. I failed to stop and go, you know what? These people are statists. And the bottom line is, you call me a flip-flopper if you want, but I now understand that even though I thought Bush was the good guy, here's the problem. At some point, he's not in power, and Lefty's good guys taking the place. So I think, for me, the answer is reduction of government.
Well, and
and that's a discussion for another time.
That's a little bit beyond the scope we're talking about here. But what I will say, I was listening to Bill Maher from last Friday talk about this, and how he likes to say, he pointed out that he thinks that most slippery slope arguments are BS. And honestly, it's not that I don't disagree necessarily that they're BS arguments. However, what I will say is that they're lazy. To just sort of say, oh, slippery slope, it's lazy. Yeah. And so I think that it is very valid. It's a valid thing to say that we're going to trust one administration over another. You can say we trust the Bush administration to do this, or we trust the Obama administration to do this. We trust Carter over Nixon, or we trust Nixon over Johnson. Those are valid arguments to have. However, if you look at the principles that underlie that sort of trust, I'm going to trust the Obama administration with my personal information. Why? What Absolutely. What valid reason is there for any executive branch of the government, no matter what government is, to trust them ever? That's I wouldn't trust Mitt Romney.
No. Well, we're going to be back with the slippery slope of trusting Mitt Romney right after we get back. You're listening to Doc and Lefty on webcast1live.com.
Drug and alcohol addiction slowly steals a person's identity, tearing away pieces of their life little by little, until one day it seems like the hope of a happy future is gone and there's no chance of getting it back. Here at St. Gregory Retreat Centers, we can assure you that there is hope. Our unique approach to recovery begins with the understanding that the dysfunction and damage caused by addiction can be overcome, not just dealt with. Don't let another day go by. Call St. Gregory today.
Drink, dance, party. Kitty's is the ultimate dance club in Des Moines. A huge dance floor with room to move, 3 bars to keep your drinks full, and kickin' DJs playing all your favorite dance music. At Kitty's, we've always got your birthday party planned with Birthday Fridays. That's right, when your birthday rolls around, there's only one place to go. Gather up your friends and head to Kitty's, where you drink free on the Friday of your birthday week. Find out more about Birthday Fridays at kittysusa.com. Kitties, all kinds of people, all kinds of music, all kinds of fun.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast 1 Live.
Hey, welcome back, everybody. You are joining us for the second segment of the Doc and Lefty reunion tour. You know, it feels like I haven't seen this guy across the table from me in about 3 weeks, and that's about how long it's been.
It's about how long he can stand.
Well, I know. I had to have you back. I woke up the minute that you got back onto American soil. I sat straight up in my bed, and I thought, Doc's home, and I went back and I slept like a baby.
Well, and I believe that because, being a lefty, he's just laying around most of the time because I got back at 6:30 in the afternoon. So, I can go with that.
It's true. It's
true.
true.
One of the things I want to talk about, well, just to mention briefly, when I was overseas, I watched the Cirrus Minor interview. I thought that was a pretty wonderful interview. These are a bunch of really neat guys.
Yep.
And the second thing is how did their concert go? Did you ever?
I wasn't able to make their concert, but I've been listening to the CD they gave me non-stop. It's in my car right now. It is awesome. If you missed that show on the first Woolies, I couldn't make it. I had other commitments that were going on.
Sleeping.
And I wasn't able to make it. But if you made that show, call us at our 800 number and let us know what you thought. Otherwise, go and see these guys. Seriously, they got gigs all over town. They're probably in high festival mode right now, and they're fantastic dudes and fantastic music. But getting back to what we were talking about,
the slippery slope of Mitt Romney.
Well, we all know that Mitt Romney's got a pretty slippery slope. But what I hear from people in the media and from pundits, and it's just every time I hear a Democrat defend this program, it just makes me kind of slimy and icky. And every time I hear a Republican do it, I want to throw a shoe at the TV and point at the Democrats, say, "See, this is why we shouldn't be doing it." But
things are bad when you have Feinstein going after Obama and Boehner defending him.
It's not a good. It's not a good
bad time.
It's a very bad time, and it's probably just because Boehner wants to whoop his butt on the golf course again. He's probably trying to set up that twosome one more time. But what I would ask you, Doc, is since you've got a little bit more perspective on this than I do, I remember hearing about, since I wasn't alive at the time, J. Edgar Hoover's FBI with a boxy, double reel tape recorder taped underneath the bed of Martin Luther King Jr. And that's how they used to bug things. Now, this is just an extension of that. We had this kind of surveillance in this country forever.
Since the FBI has been around, we've had an apparatus to spy on Americans. The FBI, this is something people of my generation and older with the rotary phones, remember those? The FBI recorded every single phone call. And they had this computer system. Remember the old system with the big giant tapes going around? They had this system that would search for particular words if they were together within a certain amount of time. Things like, obviously like President bomb or, President assassinate. If they were in a certain period of time, they would flag that conversation, pull it out, and listen to the recording. This has been going on since Bell invented the telephone. Honest, this is what's been going on. This is what our government has been doing all the time. The problem is it's now out into cyberspace, and we're not used to the cyberspace technology. There's the amount of information that goes into storage per year is the amount of information of human history that we've accumulated from the beginning of human history to 2008. And we're putting that kind of information in storage facilities and everything else, like this new Facebook storage thing out in Altoona. That's what they're doing. This is just a giant data mining operation. The problem is how are you going to be able to separate out people that are going to be, blowing up Christian sinners or, like the Boston bombing from other people? Well, the bottom line is you have to be able to adapt to what the new situation is, new reality. I've been very critical of a lot of the supposed safety measures that the United States have taken and the rest of the world has taken, with the exception of Israel. Now, one of the things I hear quite often, and I think George Bush can take credit of of this, at least in part, not fully, but in part. We haven't had another bombing on our soil from jihadists up until here just very recently. So we had like an 11-year run. Well, keep in mind we had the World Trade Center bombing under Clinton. How long did we go without a bombing between then and when they took the tower down? About the same amount of time, roughly. All right. I think what was it, 7 years or 8 years between the blind sheikh bombing the garage?
I thought it was in like 94.
Yeah, and then we went to 2001. So you're talking 7 years.
Mm-hmm.
So,
well, what's your point?
Well, my point with this is it's going to take a while for these guys to get together the resources to go have another attack. Number two, they're adapting their strategy. We know what their strategy is. They're going to radicalize individuals. They're no longer going to get together in big groups because we can hunt them down. It's like a big beacon with all these cell phones going off in a cave meeting somewhere. So you have these self-radicalized people that are doing these lone wolf attacks. You have the Fort Hood shooter. You have the Boston bombers. And this is what they're doing. The attack that beheaded that soldier in the UK, same thing. A radicalized young man who did it to himself engaging in these terror attacks. We're not keeping up with how they're changing their attacks. What we're doing is looking at the attack that would just occurred and adjusting for that attack. And we should be looking down the road how they're going to change. Coming through the airport, I have to take my shoes off. Well, that's just ridiculous. You know, nobody's going to be hijacking a plane anymore. As soon as they do, everybody's going to jump them. You know?
Well, I guess I see what you're saying, but the thing is, I feel like the fact that we're having all these lone wolf attacks now is sort of evidence that the centralized nerve center for terrorism, whether it, in whatever group that it happens to be in, is functionally dead. I mean, but the problem is it's sort of like a hydra. We cut the head off of Al Qaeda, and I'm not even talking about Osama bin Laden. We cut the head off of Al Qaeda back when we ran them out of Afghanistan. Okay, yep. But what the war on terror has done has created all of these other groups that have spawned out of the corpse that is Al Qaeda, whether it be Al Qaeda in the Arabian Peninsula, whether it be Al Nusra, whether it be all these different factions vying for supremacy in Syria, whether it be the Al Shabaab in Somalia, all these different little groups running around doing stuff has, honestly, it made more. I still think that the war on terror was a bad idea and just tactically. How you can't really have a war against a particular ideology. You can have a war against a country, but a war against an ideology like radical Islam or whatever doesn't make a whole lot of sense. But it made more sense when it was the U.S. against Al Qaeda. That sounds a lot more like the Allies against the Axis powers, right? Well, now we don't have Al Qaeda. We have all kinds of different other groups. Doesn't that sound more like a police action to you? Doesn't that sound like police action rather than military action is more warranted to go into these countries and sweep this up?
Absolutely. And I agree with you 100%, Lefty, and I always kind of shiver whenever I have to say that. We're going to get right back after a brief message from our sponsors. Right after this break, we're going to talk more about the splintering of Al Qaeda. You're listening to Doc and Lefty on webcast1live.com.
Petrosh & Associates, how can I help you?
Petrosh & Associates will provide you with a friendly, caring, and confidential place to find help for mental health concerns. We are ready for your call. Our doctor, Dr. J. Patrick Petrosh, provides a full range of psychiatric services for children, adolescents, and adults in a forthright and informative manner while maintaining a casual, comfortable, and relaxed atmosphere.
Drug and alcohol addiction slowly steals a person's identity, tearing away pieces of their life little by little until one day it seems like the hope of a happy future is gone and there's no chance of getting it back. Here at St. Gregory Retreat Centers, we can assure you that there is hope. Our unique approach to recovery begins with the understanding that the dysfunction and damage caused by addiction can be overcome, not just dealt with. Don't let another day go by. Call St. Gregory today.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
Hey, welcome back, folks. So glad of you to join us. We want to thank all of the sponsors that make the studio and this show possible. We like our colleague Ed Fallon likes to say that he is the alternative to other forms of
corporate radio.
To corporate radio, and while we certainly don't, well, half of us don't hate corporations as much as that. We do appreciate the space that we've been given to come to you every single week and express our viewpoints and open up the forum of communication to those folks that just they don't want to have to call into a terrestrial radio show. They'd rather come and call and talk to us directly because they know that it's user controlled and user oriented. So, Doc, speaking of users, okay. Let me break in just for a second.
I forgot about this. Our friend Tim calls in a lot.
Yes.
Has been calling in lately. His girl was over last night at the house and they were all watching a movie and she went into labor.
Oh.
So congratulations to Tim, hopefully, if the little bugger's out yet. And if not, we're all with you. So sorry, back to users.
No, congratulations. But speaking of users, we wouldn't have this issue if we unplugged every once in a while, would we, Doc?
What kind of issue?
This surveillance issue. I mean,
yes. Oh, yes, you're right.
The vulnerabilities.
I thought you meant like we wouldn't have the same issue if we unplugged.
No,
babies?
No. That's actually true as well. But no, this issue of being constantly surveilled by our government, no matter how good its intentions. The unfortunate reality is, and I think this is one of the areas where the government has really got us by the tail, is everyone uses Google now. Everyone has Facebook. Everyone except you and I think we're the last two, tweet all the time. Everybody is constantly putting everything out there. I had this concern several years ago that, yes, the Fourth Amendment protects our privacy. Well, it was eroded 50 years ago, honestly, but it's supposed to be there to protect our privacy, and yet we seem to be waiving our privacy left and right with glee.
Two private companies that have a vested interest in working hand in hand with their government.
Yep.
One of the things that I'm just going to say it, and I know I am a capitalist. I am all for competition, but the people that hate capitalism the most are other capitalists. And these companies get in a position where they can quash, the competition. And it's important to them to get government contracts because they're very lucrative. Well, you're giving this information to Google. All you have to do is go look at Google Maps. Isn't that creepy? I can tell you what day they took the picture over just on the kids' cars sitting out front.
Well, and what's sort of in a double-edged sword sort of way is that that is definitely something that I'm not comfortable with. However, I just used it yesterday to verify some information that I've been told by a client to make sure that it was true, and now it's going to figure very prominently in a case that I'm handling that goes to trial in January next year. So it's just the convenience of it cannot be overstated, I don't believe. Like it's so easy and it's so useful that everything is interconnected like this. But then can we really blame any government? And I'm posing this as an open question. Can we really blame any government of saying, well, hey, Sally Mae, if you want to tell us that you ate granola at 6:17 in the morning before you went and did your spin class, well, we'd like to know that. Your friends might not be interested in what you have to do, Sally Mae, but we, your government, are very interested.
Absolutely. And, just like we have our Facebook up there, up on the screen, Facebook's is a public forum. It's like standing out on the street corner and shouting, I had breakfast today.
Yep.
And it is a public forum. Google is something a little bit different. Google's a private corporation, and they agree to keep your information private. The problem is you've entrusted a party that makes its living basically on selling your patterns of behavior to other people.
Yep.
It's one of these things that, everybody here, if you don't believe the government has always been spying on us, you're naive. The problem is the extent to which the Patriot Act has eroded straight into the very soul of American privacy and American greatness.
It's true.
It's what makes us different. We're the only country that is supposed to have those safeguards. Not even the Canadians have these safeguards.
Well, what's funny about that very point that you make there? Germany Germany's privacy laws are so strict that they don't even allow Google to do street view cameras without like a ton of oversight. You know, Google got in a huge fight with Germany back in the early part of the 2000 decade when they wanted to bring their street view cameras up and down, and the German government said no, we're going to let them.
Yep.
Germany, with all the historical difficulties that Germany has had, Germany, probably because of those historical difficulties, has stricter privacy laws than the United States.
But it's not guaranteed in their constitution, right?
Yes, it is.
Are you sure?
Yeah, their privacy laws stem directly from and their constitution is 8 times longer than ours too.
Absolutely. So all right. So it's one of these things where we voluntarily surrender our information to these people, like Amazon. Amazon is just as guilty. What was it? It was Sprint. Was it Sprint? It was a phone company. And I think Yahoo and another company that all said we didn't participate in this government program.
They all denied it, but they all kind of evaded the direct questions too. It's just, but you can't believe them because they're in it to make money, just like every good capitalist is supposed to do. I mean, you can't fault them for that. But what really bothers a person is, I don't know. I can see both sides of it, but it bothers me a lot to have a government that continues to say, especially run by a president who, when he was campaigning, said that he would shut all this stuff down. It bothers me that a government has this information, spies on us nonstop, and then turns around and said, don't worry, we're doing what's best for you, but we're not going to tell you what we found, and we're certainly not going to let you in on the secret of what we've been doing, but just trust us. And it really, it bothers me a lot, no matter who, whether it's a D or an R in front of their name.
Well, and I agree with that as well. And I think really my point earlier in the show about we really need to separate out the status from the non-status, because really I think because I always thought Democrats were really arrogant, especially liberal progressive Democrats who said, well, we know better than you, so we're going to do things for you. And I always thought that was an arrogant attitude. But the more I'm really looking at this thing shaking out, the more I'm really thinking it doesn't have anything to do with liberal progressivism. Because, our friend Ed, he's about as liberal and progressive as you're going to get. But he's not a statist. And I really think it boils down to whether you think the government is going to be able to fix your problems or not. And I think that Ed thinks there's a role for government. I just think it's limited government, And I think that's the answer to this, is to be able to take back some of that power that we've given over to the corporations and everything else.
Well, in that sense, and like I said, and we were going to get back into the 9-head hydra that is the remnants of Al-Qaeda and international terrorism. I just remember that before we got off this other tangent. But that being said, that means that we have to stop believing all the scaremongers out there. And
on both sides.
Unfortunately, they are more numerous now, whether it be in the private sector or in the public sector, than they were even in 2003. And because it's good business to keep American people dumb and scared.
Yep. On that note, we'll be back right after break. We'll be talking about the slippery slope of nine-headed hydras. We are listening to Doc and Lefty on webcast1live.com. Thank you for joining us.
Leach, owner and general manager of Service Legends. I brought along a couple of the home comfort heroes.
Hi, I'm Tammy Wells.
I am Nick Wonderscheid.
I'm administrative manager.
I'm the senior technician
from Service Legends.
It seems like every good thing, when you feel it to the bone that it's good, there's a lot of hard work put behind it. I don't think that you can fake it and have it turn out good.
If we seem like, okay, that's just weird, it's just a furnace, why would you believe so deeply in a furnace? It's not just that, we want to show the world that you can have good service.
Yeah, it's got to be, it's your home.
It's built into our daily trainings, it's built into our culture, that we're going to do whatever it takes to have each client say they love us, period.
That's why we spend all the hours in the training that we do. And if we guarantee it's going to be a good experience for you, or else it's free, what type of work do you think we're going to do?
There is a guarantee.
Temperature selection guarantee, fixed rider it's free guarantee, comfort guarantee, best value guarantee. All of these guarantees hold us accountable to ensuring that we exceed your expectations. And if for whatever reason we'd fail and we can't make it right, We guarantee all of those guarantees with a 100% money-back guarantee.
I mean, if you don't think that your technician can fix it right, are you going to say that to a client? No.
You don't have to worry about having a technician come to your house.
We drug test, background check all of our team members. We put safe people in your home. Each and every one of our service techs, 400 hours a year in training.
You tell it the minute they walk in the door. They know what they're doing, they've done their homework, and they actually truly care about what you want.
Because at the end of the day, you're the person that makes sure I have a job.
They're going to be listening. They're going to want to know what your challenges are. Then they're going to come and give you options, and you get to choose.
If I'm there to help and I make it easy and painless, I did my job right that day.
Well, when it comes to your comfort, safety, and your family, you don't necessarily go buy the most expensive, but you get the most bang for your buck.
Oh, it's worth it, because there's a lot of people that will find a way to get it to work right now and then leave and then come back, charge you again, and the cycle just repeats itself. So when I'm out there looking at the furnace, I want to find why it failed today. How can we change the part today with something that you're not going to have to worry about? Is it worth changing the part today? I mean, you can put a lot of money into a furnace. I can fix parts all day. There's good job security in that for me, but is it the right thing for you?
I get a lot of the phone calls of after the technicians are there. They're just in awe. They're like, wow, you guys are great. I mean, I don't even know what to say. You guys are great. Everything you did was perfect. It was great.
Keep going though, I like this.
Just give us a try. I'm going to take all the risk.
I've got the time to make this right. I've got the support to make it right.
Just check us out.
And if you don't see the value in what we do,
I mean, fixed right or it's free or 100% money back.
enough said.
Hey, welcome back, everybody. We're talking about international issues here on the Doc and Lefty program. And, it's about time, because even though we love to do the local stuff, and there's a lot of local stuff to talk about, and I promised people 2 weeks ago that we'd eventually get to the, I don't know what you'd even call it, the magnanimous Iowa legislature coming together and putting Washington, D.C. to shame. But we'll talk about that another time, because that's what they did. They came together and they got stuff done, and it only took a couple weeks after the session was supposed to be out. And Washington, D.C. is looking at Iowa, wondering how we're doing it down here with two parties that are supposedly so polarized. But today we're talking about international issues.
I got the answer for that question. Statesmen like Senator Brad Zahn and Representative Tom Shaw.
Friends of the show.
Friends of the
Brad
show.
Zahn
That's how they get it
and
done.
Tom Shaw. I was going to have them on, but we haven't been able to get the schedules coordinated yet, at least from my end, and have them talk about their roles in the last couple of days of the legislature, because that'll be an interesting topic once we have them on. But I want to ask you some questions, Doc, about what you think the role of government should be now that literally what you ate for dinner 3 weeks ago is a topic for public consumption. No pun intended. When we have no centralized attacks coming from any sort of terrorist organization on this in this soil anymore. We really don't. I mean, these folks that the Boston bombing people and the guy in the UK, they were not affiliated with any terrorist group anywhere.
No, lone wolves.
Yeah, they just and their justification for their actions was their faith, which we all know is just nonsense, and it's not an excuse for anything. We don't let the radical Hindus and the radical Buddhists that are killing Muslims in India get away with this kind of stuff. We don't let radical Christians that bomb abortion clinics get away with this kind of stuff. So it's time to step up and say radical Islam is not an excuse for this kind of stuff. Going out on a limb there, I know, but they said it's their faith and our war on Islam. And what these knuckleheads need to understand is that Muslims kill more Muslims than Americans do.
Absolutely.
These terrorist attacks in Syria and Iraq and Afghanistan and Pakistan, they're killing Muslims. And it's Muslims, it's Shia killing Sunni, Sunni killing Shia, the Wahhabis, everybody else kind of getting all involved in this stuff. And it's not Americans killing Muslims. We're just trying to keep the peace. And that's, I'll stand behind any soldier that makes that argument any day of the week. But what should the government be doing? Because lone wolves, you can't have the National Guard on alert for a lone wolf 24 hours a day.
No, you can't. And it's, for me, I believe the less government you have, the better. The less money you give the government, the more they have to decide what critical functions they're going to engage in. We have the Department of Homeland Security, which, if you've traveled at all, is a joke and a waste of money. We have Health and Human Services. That's a joke and a waste of money. We have the FDA that's responsible for our food. Here's the problem with that. Every company that deals with food, that processes food, whatever, Graziano's here in town is the one that comes to mind. Lafredo is the other one. They have more inspectors going through their plant than the FDA requires. I think that there's a lot of governmental overreach, and I think that if we start focusing and being smart and using things that are practical instead of ideological, then we'll be a lot further ahead. I've said this before. As far as the war on terror, we need to be looking for bombers, not bombs. We need to be looking ahead and seeing what the bombers are planning, instead of going, well, hold on. Are we, like we talked, are we going to start banning pressure cookers? I mean, that's the kind of stuff that we do. Well, let's ban pressure cookers.
Because
that doesn't do us. They've already done that bomb. They're moving on to something else.
Wouldn't that be exactly what the National Security Association Administration, whatever it's called, wouldn't that be exactly what they would say? That we're sweeping up all this data because we're trying to find the next bomber? Isn't that exactly the argument that they would make?
Well, but the problem is there's a certain group of people that are going to become bombers. Lefty over here is not going to be a bomber. There's no reason to collect his information. I'm not going to become a bomber. Ryan, for crying out, Frank, our producer, is not going to become a bomber, right? You're trying to look for the needle in the haystack. So instead of picking up each piece of straw and looking, why don't you just kind of blow things around until you see a glint and then focus on that? And I agree with you. That's the excuse that they will use. But the Israelis target people that are going to be most likely to become bombers.
You're talking about profiling.
Yeah, I'm talking about profiling. And even though, and this is what I get back to, ideology, right? When I go through a line and I see my mom, somebody like my mom, being pulled out of line, forced to take her clothes off and doing a pat down, just randomly, that isn't going to help anybody. She isn't going to be a person that's going to be of interest. A person of interest, simply because of the way I look, I could see if I get pulled out of line. I've never been pulled out of line. When you're talking about, looking for bombers, you have to look at who has been to the radical sites. I don't go to the radical sites. I'm not going to radicalize myself. You're not going to radicalize yourself. So if you're going to take information from the radical sites. You can track anything through the IP addresses and everything else. What they can do with the technology today is absolutely mind-boggling. These people set up these sites. They radicalize themselves. All you have to do is figure out, Bob down the street, he's radicalizing himself. He just got out of jail. He's angry. He's upset with the system. Maybe that's somebody you look at and start saying, well, hold on. He's hitting these radical sites. He's a former... He's a Christian that's converted to Islam. He's angry with the system. Maybe those are some things. Doesn't matter if Bob's black, white, green, yellow. Yeah, it just matters that he has that same behavioral pattern.
I feel like folks are. I don't know. I feel like that kind of tracking is going on right now. I guess I don't see how we really can make the argument that. That's what we need to do more of that. I feel like we're probably doing as much of that as we possibly can.
We don't need to do more of that. We need to do whatever we do smarter.
Hey, I've just been I got the word that we just had a phone call.
Oh my goodness.
Call in. Caller, you are on the air with Doc and Lefty.
Hey there, Doc and Lefty. This is Tim.
Tim, you got your daddy yet?
No, I was real close.
You're real close to being a daddy?
Yeah, pretty close. Here, let me 1 second here.
All right.
Sorry about that. I had to shut off the TV that I'm watching here. Well,
you're watching TV while you're listening to us? How is that possible?
No,
That's how smart our listeners are. Our listeners are so smart that they can watch TV and listen to us at the same time.
Well, actually, I'm watching you, so it's like echoing back at me and really annoying.
Oh, all right.
That would get kind of annoying. But Tim, what's on your mind?
Well, actually, I just wanted to comment on some things that Doc was saying there.
You know what, Tim? We're going to take a quick break. Can you hang on till after the break?
Yeah, I can hold on.
All right, we're going to be right back right after the break. Stay tuned to Doc and Lefty, and please visit our sponsors. We're here every Tuesday from 6 to 7 p.m. We'll be back right after the break with Tim.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
Whether you're 10, 25, 50, 80 years old and beyond, everyone needs to live within their means. I'm Tom Coates with Consumer Credit of America. For almost a quarter of a century, we've helped people of all ages learn to manage their personal finances to benefit them far into the future. When problems arise, we've got the experience you need to make those debt problems go away. Got financial problems? Call Consumer Credit of America.
If Tom Coates from Consumer Credit of America was your personal webmaster, Tom would filter out all bad debt emails. If Tom was your mailman, you'd never get any debt reduction junk mail. If Tom Coates was a lineman, he'd block any phone calls offering to reduce your credit card debt.
Hi, I'm Tom Coates with Consumer Credit of America, and we're still your best choice for credit counseling. We're local, we're accountable, and we can do more. You make the call when the time's right for you.
When it comes to competition, there really is none for Consumer Credit of America.
Hey, welcome back, everybody. We're joined by our first friend of the show, Tim. Tim, I understand that you have a couple things you want to make. A couple comments to some of the stuff that Doc was talking about.
Yeah, he was talking about tracking IP addresses to, radicalize sites to, try to get a hold of people who are, maybe looking to bomb something. Now, the problem with that is most websites, I don't know if you knew this, are usually hosted on a Google account or hosted through Amazon. So,
well, then, so it should make it easy for the government to track that.
And yes, but the problem that they're having that I have with this whole system is they're not getting, a search warrant for an American citizen to go in and get that information. They're just gathering everyone's information. If they want to gather information like that, they need to get a search warrant.
Well, what they do say they're doing, though, is they're getting these FISA warrants. These FISA warrants are
why don't you explain what a FISA means?
The FISA court is a secret court that is in charge of looking at the evidence that the NSA or the FBI brings to it to justify these sorts of sweeps, and it's all classified. We don't get to see any of it. And from what I understand, that these courts are basically just rubber stamps to provide some process for
or cover
They've never said no.
What's that?
They've never said no.
They've never said no. But what I'd say, so they do have warrants, but what these warrants are being used for is to not pick up what's called a particular phone number. And what I understand is that they're called like facilities. They're picking up these switches. So like when these massive amounts of data are transported between servers over a period of time, say a few seconds, that becomes a facility, and then they sweep all of that up. They sweep up all of that data because it's defined that way in the warrant. And so what we need is to redefine all this stuff and make it reasonable and particularize the way that the Supreme Court has interpreted the Fourth Amendment of the Constitution. Tim, would you agree with me on that one?
I would agree with you on that one.
So
now the problem with that is just the way that the internet works is large packets of information are transferred. There's really no way to cipher through them without taking ownership of all of them.
No, that's absolutely right. But if you're going to say that we can get all this stuff pursuant to these warrants that no one gets to see, you either have to declassify the court and declassify the information, or you have to redefine what you're looking for and make it more more particularized. That's just, to me, that doesn't seem to be any other way. But even going back to the Bush administration, the NSA has said that kind of stuff is too dangerous to be in the hands of the public. It's too dangerous to be to disclose to anybody. So we need to keep it secret, or else we'll never get anywhere.
And that's true, but there needs to be some kind of oversight other than just them getting a warrant from a place that just rubber stamps it and 2 congressmen or 3 congressmen that actually get the information.
I agree with you.
And I guess my biggest gripe is I don't trust Congress as well. So if Congress was trustable, then we could all sit here and go, well, at least they're taking a good look at it and making sure it's good for us.
Well, and absolutely.
Most of them have proven they can't be trusted.
Yep.
And the other thing that's concerning is when you have Eric Holder up there saying, well, we have the right to kill Americans on American soil without a warrant using a drone, that makes you stop and go, well, hold on.
He never said that.
Well, but
he never said that.
He did too.
He didn't say that.
He said exactly that. When he was asked the question, pretty much like that, he said, well, yeah, it's probably unlikely, but yeah, I think that's what it would mean.
No.
So the bottom line is,
they use the terms enemy combatants.
Oh,
even if it was an enemy combatant who's an American citizen.
The problem is that they can change an American citizen into an enemy combatant.
Well, that's the whole problem. Okay, hold on a second. Now
he's fired up.
Now we're hold on. Just make sure that we understand where enemy combatant came from. Eric Holder didn't invent that term.
Oh, I know.
And he wasn't the one that was. And that was the. I can't have conservatives saying that we can't go after American citizens who are enemy combatants, because that's what I was saying 10 years ago.
Well, and I agreed with you. Tim agrees with
Fair
you.
enough.
If you have an American citizen, regardless of how screwed up he is, he has certain rights.
Exactly.
I don't think that those rights extend to non-citizens. That's one of the arguments you and I have a lot, is I think if you're a citizen, whether or not you're fighting for Al-Qaeda, you still have to have due process, even if you're overseas, even if you're treasonous.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Benedict Arnold, way back when, he had his due process.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So,
exactly.
And that's really what is concerning to me, is this big giant ball who started with the Bush administration, because like I said, I don't like being put in a position where I have to defend them. And this whole thing is just snowballed right down the slippery slope that libertarians complained about and Democrats complained about and some Republicans complained about.
And we have a Democratic president who
said he'd get rid of it.
We have a Democratic president and a do-nothing Congress. It's the exact same. A Democratic president who thinks that he has to be a tough Republican guy overseas, and a do-nothing Congress and a Supreme Court that's just taking no position. All this stuff. It's the exact recipe. The fact that we don't have boots on the ground in Syria right now is shocking to me, given that recipe. It really is.
Honestly, which side should we take in Syria, though?
Well, of course. I mean, that's my position. I don't think we should be there.
I mean, we can't. Yeah, we can't go there just because there's no good side to be on. The rebels have used chemical weapons, and the government massacres people. So it's just something that we should stay out of, just because there's no good way to know how to start that.
Yeah, absolutely. And just on an aside, when I was over there, Putin, in announcing that he was splitting from his wife, also pretty much said, we're going to support our ally in Syria. Yeah. And in diplomatic speak, that means if the Americans come in, we're coming too. So it's, that's just a big old sandwich, so to speak.
Yep.
And so it's one of these things where I get frustrated with my own party. Blake, as you can see, is getting frustrated with his own party and his leader. And we get back to, what's a guy to do? What Tim, if you were a typical voter at this time, what would you vote for? What would you tell the parties is important to you?
I would tell them to move more to the libertarian line, and I'd say, throw Rand Paul into the presidential mix next time.
All right. So why
him?
Oh yeah.
There's a lot of good names in the Republican Party that are coming up that have a lot of potential.
Well, so what do you find attractive about the Libertarian Party and their solution to this, besides, hey, let's play isolationism?
They're not entirely isolationism. That's not entirely what they're about. It's more of, hey, let's take a closer look, like in Syria. Let's not get involved right away. I can't promise you, if McCain was, say, president, we might be in Syria right now. He was kind of a loose cannon, and I didn't vote for him.
Yeah, and that's true. We have to take another break. Well, I want to say special thanks to Tim. We hope his girl and his new baby. You're having a boy, right?
Yep, I'm having a boy.
All right. So his girlfriend and his baby boy come through this okay. We'll be back right after the break. You're listening to Doc and Lefty on webcast1live.com. Thank you for tuning in.
Trosh and Associates will provide you with a friendly, caring, and confidential place to find help for mental health concerns. We are ready for your call. We are proud to work with military personnel and their families. Our doctor, Dr. J. Patrick Bertroche, provides a full range of psychiatric services for children, adolescents, and adults in a forthright and informative manner while maintaining a casual, comfortable, and relaxed atmosphere. Our licensed mental health therapists provide individual counseling to children, adolescents, and adults, including couples and marital counseling. Visit our website at bertrocheandassociates.com for more information or call 515-334-9484. Our offices are located at 5525 Meredith Drive in Des Moines, just east of Skate North off Merle Hay Road. Isn't it time to talk to someone? Take care of yourself and your family. Contact Bertroche and Associates.
Hey, welcome back. Give Tim a special thanks for calling in. We always are happy to hear from him. He was the guy that believed in us when only our moms did, and
not even mine.
And that's right.
I take it back. My mama believed me from the beginning.
But I just want to respond to something that he said about Rand Paul. Now, Rand Paul is obviously making a push to run in 2016, and he's got a long, difficult road in front of him because the rank and file of the Republican Party right now is completely against the Paul style of foreign policy. 100% lock, stock, and barrel.
Absolutely.
They don't want to see that kind of foreign policy come out of a Republican presidency. And as we heard from Tim, it's the younger generation, the folks that are coming up that are dissatisfied with Republicans and Democrats are leaning that way. But I wonder, and this is pure speculation, I don't want to get too deep into Senator Paul's record, but I wonder, Doc, you saw a community organizer who was compared to the most socialist president since, even worse than Franklin Delano Roosevelt, who created Social Security that has socialism in the name. Barack Obama come in, former community organizer, and turn into a neocon as far as his foreign policy is concerned. How can a guy who arguably is closer to that is more vulnerable to those neocon attacks, i.e. Rand Paul, defend himself against doing the same exact thing? I'm not sure he can.
Well, and I don't think he can either, because Ron Paul really was surging when they got on the debate here at Drake University, when they had that. And when he got up there, and I remember being in the audience, and he got up there and he said what he had to say about foreign policy. And you could tell all the people that supported Ron Paul, they were holding up signs in the background and everything else. He said that, they dropped their signs. His foreign policy is not practical in any way. Nobody wants to go to war. I honestly think that we should be pulling troops home. I think just about everybody believes. But you can't get up there and say, Iran's not a problem to us. Iran is a problem to us. You can't say, well, North Koreans are over in North Korea. It doesn't really work that way. We're a global globe now. We're all interconnected. And in order to secure America's position, we have to do some things that are unsavory. And that is, sometimes we have to pick despots, right? I mean, our choice in Iraq, when they were in Iran-Iraq war, either pick the people that took our embassy or Saddam Hussein. We didn't have a lot of choice, so we supported Saddam Hussein, all right?
Had he proven himself to be as brutal of a dictator by that point? I'm not so sure that he had.
But we all knew.
That was 15 years before he killed all those Kurds.
Yeah, but you know the kind of people you're dealing with over there.
I don't know. Winston Churchill and Joseph Stalin were kind of friendly by the end of World War II. All I'm saying is the despot is more dangerous than the one that you don't know, even though if the one that you don't know is going to bite you in the butt later. And so when you have an Ayatollah who put fatwa on the whole country, for example, I can understand why we would have support. The interests change, but that kind of goes back to the point of why are we getting in bed with any of these people? And that kind of goes to Ron Paul's point, because Rand Paul has yet to demonstrate how his foreign policy is different than his dad's whatsoever. He won't answer questions about that. I imagine it's because it would make it a little uncomfortable at Thanksgiving dinner. But Ron Paul says it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. We shouldn't be doing business with any of them because you can't trust any of them. He wants to pull everybody back, which is completely anathema to the neocon position of exporting democracy around the world. And so but we saw that same trap close around President Obama. Remember, this is a Democratic president who on day one wanted to close Gitmo. It's still open. He wanted to pull back. He wanted to end wars in Iraq to focus on Afghanistan, which was his good war. He did that only pursuant to George W. Bush stopping that first. This guy won the Nobel Peace Prize and has killed more brown people in Pakistan than George Bush did the entire time of his presidency. So what's the good choice here? I don't see how Rand Paul will be able to stop that sort of foreign policy now that it's been entrenched for 13 years.
Well, the problem is particularly with foreign policy, and you know this as well as I do, when you're talking the presidency, the president is an office, right? It is an office. It is not a person.
Yep.
And you are committed to tamping down, so to speak, the administrative blunders of the people that go before you. Keep in mind, we fought the British for years and years and years. And finally we went, well, that's just silly. We're not going to fight them anymore. Brits, if it hadn't been for India acting up, I think the Brits would have come back after us again. You know,
in the 50s, I don't know about that.
Yeah, well, way back when, in the Boer War and the rest of it, they had all these other things to take care of. They went, well, at least they're friendly. This is what I know. And this is where I think the libertarians have it right. We can do more exporting and being trade partners with people around the world than we ever will boots on the ground. There are times when you have to take a stand. We like to point at Germany, for instance, and we can demonize the Germans all we want, right? We had to go fight against the Japanese who attacked us. I get that. Sometimes those things happen. Here's where the problem lies. If we export our culture, if we export our goods to nations who want them and thirst for them, and we are we're in the next Hanseatic League, we're going to do far more to bring democracy to these countries than any bombing we're going to do, than any drone strike, than any Al-Qaeda person we're going to kill.
It sounds like you're saying that it's better to make friends than kill enemies. Is that what you're trying to say?
Well, I've always believed that, but then there comes a point when it doesn't matter what you do, they're not going to be your friend. You have to keep in mind, there are people out there that want to kill us simply because we believe in capitalism, or simply because we believe in democracy, or even worse, we believe in equal human rights for men, women, and everybody that's in America.
I will take issue only slightly because I think that oversimplifies the reason why a lot of these folks hate us. A lot of these folks hate us because we've had troops in holy lands and blah, 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 blah. That's something that everybody knows about, and it's not really, I'm not trying to start an argument because we're not really arguing about that point at all. We agree about that. But I just wanted to point out that the first time that I heard that sentiment expressed, making more enemies through trade than making more friends through trade than killing enemies, was at a speech that I attended in the University of Iowa, and the speaker was former President William Jefferson Clinton. So kudos to Doc for coming back around to supporting a sentiment that was expressed by Bill Clinton.
He co-opted that from Newt Gingrich.
I don't think so, because Bill Clinton was the free trade guy before Newt Gingrich even had the speaker's gavel. But anyway, I want to thank everybody for listening. Doc, you got some people that you want to give a shout out to before we close the show down?
Well, who was that? Oh, yeah, Tim and Kat. They're going to be having a baby tonight. All my new foreign listeners that I've talked to overseas, including Malcolm and his wife, who Malcolm was very nice and showed us around Oxford, which was wonderful. We're grateful for our sponsors, Des Moines Anesthesia and the GOP, Polk County GOP. Their fundraiser was a tremendous success. They're having another fundraiser coming up here in about, I think, 3 months. It's going to be golf outing. It's wonderful. Also, keep in your hearts, minds, and your wallets, Youth Homes of Mid-America. They had their golf outing yesterday. It was a tremendous success. And that's about it. Oh, Cirrus Minor, make sure you pick up their CD. It's wonderful music. Even though Ogre looks like an ogre, these guys are really good musicians. They really are. So anybody you want to shout out to?
I want to make a quick plug just because I've been doing this. This is sort of an unsolicited advertisement, but if any of you ladies out there that are listening to the show that want to go and sample some wellness products and to have a nice time with a bunch of other lovely ladies and have a glass of wine and enjoy some live music provided by yours truly, why don't you go to the Yost Chiropractic clinic in Urbandale. It's over on 100th Street, right where Northwest Urbandale Drive and 100th kind of meet and change, north of Douglas by the Casey's up there. It's Thursday, 6 to 8. It's going to be a great event. A lot of vendors, a lot of people that are looking out for your best health and well-being. That's Girls Night Out at the Yost Chiropractic, Urbandale, Iowa, 6 to 8.
All right. Well, we'll be back next week. We're going to be talking about the end of session and all the local news that we haven't talked about lately. Thank you for tuning in. You can follow us on Facebook, and you can watch the show on YouTube. We'll be here next week. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in.
Hi, I'm Representative Tom Shaw, and I love these guys. Both of them.
Love these guys. Get over here. Get over here. Love both of them.